And thank you, Chair Powell, for taking our questions. The housing market in many American cities is seeing booming prices, bidding wars, and all cash offers well above asking price. And this is happening at the same time that housing is becoming much more expensive for lower income Americans and people who are still struggling from the pandemic. Do you have concerns that there are localized housing bubbles or that there's the potential for that? And what is the Fed doing to monitor or address this? Thank you.
So we do monitor the housing market very carefully, of course. And I would say that before the pandemic, it's a very different housing market than it was before the global financial crisis. And one of the main differences was that households were in very good shape financially compared to where they were. In addition, most more people who got mortgages were people with pretty high credit scores. There wasn't the subprime, low doc, no doc lending practices were not there. So we don't have that kind of thing where we have a housing bubble where people are over levered and owning a lot of houses. There's no question, though, that housing prices are going up, and so we're watching that carefully. It's partly because there's clearly strong demand, and there's just not a lot of supply right now. So builders are struggling to keep up with the demand. Clearly, inventories are tremendously low. We're all hearing those stories. And if you're an entry-level housing buyer, this is a problem because it just is going to be that much harder for people to get that first house, and that's a problem. I mean, it's part of a strong economy with people having money to spend and wanting to invest in housing. So in that sense, it's good. It's clearly the strongest housing market that we've seen since the global financial crisis. And my hope would be that over time, housing builders can react to this demand and come up with more supply, and workers will come back to work in that industry. So, it's not an unalloyed good to have prices going up this much, and we're watching it very carefully. I don't see the kind of financial stability concerns, though, that really do reside around the housing sector. So many of the financial crack-ups in all countries, all Western countries that have happened in the last 30 years have been around housing. We really don't see that here. We don't see bad loans and unsustainable prices and that kind of thing.
Thank you. Chris.
Hi, Greg Robb from MarketWatch. Thank you so much for the for the opportunity. I wanted to circle back to the housing market. It's just kind of confusing, the question and your answer. The housing market is strong, prices are up, and yet the Fed is buying $40 billion per month in mortgage-related assets. Why is that? And are those purchases playing a role at all in pushing up prices? Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we started buying MBS because the mortgage-backed security market was really experiencing severe dysfunction, and we've sort of articulated, what our exit path is from that. It's not meant to provide direct assistance to the housing market. That was never the intent. It was really just to keep that it's a very close relation to the Treasury market and a very important market on its own. And so that's why we bought, as we did during the global financial crisis, we bought MBS too. Again, not an intention to send help to the housing market, which was really not a problem this time at all. So, it's a situation where we will taper asset purchases when the time comes to do that, and those purchases will come to zero over time, and that time is not yet.